welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for the first One Equine webinar of 2026. Pauline and I were just chatting there about the weather and defrosting drinkers and everything, and I hope you've all made it through okay, for it's been a tough enough first week of the year. So with us this evening, we've got Pauline Lusby from the City of Derry Equestrian Centre. Thanks, Pauline, for joining us. It's great to have you. Pauline's going to give us a bit of an insight into how she has got to where she is at the moment and the collaborations that have helped her get there, and how her EAL practice works, and how collaboration feeds into that, which is really exciting. As a little bit of a background from what I've read about you, Pauline, Pauline's kind of from a very strong farming background, both in animal husbandry and then specialising in equine as well. Has been a pony club coach for a number of years and has been the owner of the Derry City Equestrian Centre for the last 20 years, with a herd of in and around 20 horses or so. And she's also come through the Athena herd training path, has done her level 2, 4 and 5, and I believe is now on the PSA register as well, which we'll maybe chat a little bit about later on. But I'm going to hand over to Pauline now and let her fill us in a lot more detail about how she's got to where she is, and where the collaboration has helped her on that journey. So Pauline, work away there.
No problem. Thank you very much. So tonight is just about me speaking about what I have experienced through the work that I have done to date, and again, it's about how key collaboration is. We can't bring about change in isolation. We can't do this work on our own. So it is looking at different ways that we can collaborate with different organisations, with one another, to ensure that we're delivering quality services to people, and to ensure that we can provide sustainability in what we do. So you'll notice in this initial slide, although it's equine assisted learning, there's no horses in the picture. So it's just to give you a bit of an idea where we're situated. So we're situated 5 miles outside Derry. I have a 200-acre farm. 30 acres are around a closed yard where I have a commercial flock of sheep, and I currently have 17 horses. So just through natural progression of horses, older horses and stuff, I have been kind of trying to consolidate my herd and not take on any extra. And as you can imagine, it's very hard when people are ringing you asking, would you like a horse, to turn around and say no. But I've been working very hard this last 6 months, because I want to make sure that it can sustain the existing herd of horses that I have. So a little bit about me. So I'm a 4th generation farmer. So whatever farm animal you can think of, apart from llamas and alpacas, we've had over the years. I studied European languages at university. So I'll say I was fluent in Spanish and French. So again, speaking a foreign language, being in a foreign country, you use a lot of non-verbal cues. Practice manager for 16 years in a local health centre, and alongside that I had the farm and the stables, and we had a riding school, and that's where the pony club coach came in. Now it's kind of like anybody's journey in life. You think these things all happen in isolation, but once you start to reflect and review your own path of training or what you've done, there's a commonality through all those different areas, and for me it's been communication with animals and people. So my journey so far, so we have the farming and horses. The horses kind of came about with having a livery yard and a riding school, but with the livery yard and riding school and the farm, I felt that it didn't all kind of fit. So what we did was we dropped the livery yard and had the riding school. With the riding school, we wanted to be able to teach to a standard. So for us, Pony Club fitted in really well. So for young people, we use the Pony Club framework. For adults, it's more about leisure, about giving them the opportunity to be around horses. And through that, community groups and individuals were asking for a wee bit more of what we were offering. And initially, I started off doing it kind of pony club based and very transactional, about how you learn to ride a horse, how you learn to look after a horse. And it was only through my own journey with one of my daughter's ponies very early on, who for whatever reason she could ride it for an hour and then it would throw in the dirtiest of bucks, it would take off, she could ride it for half an hour, next day the same would happen, etc., etc. And I felt that there was something missing in the way that I was being around horses, working around horses. So that kind of led me into the horse psychology and a bit of the intelligent horsemanship way of being. From there, it was coming back again, working with community groups and young people and thinking, right, I've delved a wee bit into the horse psychology, but what about the connection with place, with the countryside, with people? And this is where the equine assisted learning became the bridge between that. And that's where, and it was actually, funnily enough, through one equine. One equine had visited me many years ago. It was Julia from one equine, and I showed around my place. And if anybody's interested in having a look around, you're more than welcome to contact me and you can come up and have a look at what we have here. And then when I had realised that I wanted to get into the equine assisted learning, because I was delivering group sessions, but there definitely was something missing. I knew that I needed to learn more and have a better understanding. I was having a connection again with Julia, just chatting in general. Now, Julia did not recommend any organisational body to train with, but it was just through having that open conversation with somebody allowed me then to make the decision of the training that I wanted to do. So again, that's where collaboration is key. It's not only your training organisation, but it's the other organisations that you can be affiliated to and that they're there to help and support.
Brilliant.
So why shared journeys matter. So for practitioners, us as a practitioner, it can feel a bit lonely at times, especially if you're delivering sessions one-to-one. Now, I quite like this quote. It's not something we do, it's something that we walk alongside. So if we think about walking alongside, we're thinking about those people that are there and that can help and support us. So for me as a practitioner, if I have a group session, I might involve another practitioners so that the learning isn't diluted with the volume of people. I might involve, depending on the service that I want to deliver, another professional, somebody that hasn't trained through Athena, but somebody that shares my values, understands what I'm about, has an understanding for my horses, for my stables, for my yard. And also as a practitioner then, it can be the people that we can go to if we have any issues after a session, or say that we're delivering a group of sessions and we feel that there's something that's not happening, somebody that we can go and talk to. So it could be all our practitioners. So it definitely takes more than one of us to be able to deliver these services effectively. Horses, we know horses thrive in a community. I think COVID really shone a light in this, that we are social beings too and that we thrive in a community. And with the horses, for me, again, the shared journey, I'll give you a very direct example, would be one of my trainers, as long as a crow practitioner, came and had a look around my yard, met my horses. And it was just through talking to them about the changes that we have here from spring and summer, where the horses live out in the fields, autumn and winter, then they're stabled. Now, the track system in theory looks amazing, but I don't have the resources. My farm also has to sustain my commercial flock of sheep to have a track system. So it was just through chatting to them about what changes I could bring in. And they came up with this phrase, and it was freedom to choose. So the freedom to choose went from in the winter time, where you would go and get one horse, put it into the arena, close the gate, get the next horse, put it in the arena, close the gate, get the next horse, put it in the arena, close the gate, to opening the stable doors, letting the horses out into the yard and giving them the freedom where they wanted to walk. Obviously, I have gates closed, but I have the arena open. So they have the freedom to walk about the yard, to maybe groom all their horses over the stable door. When we're mucking out, to be around us. Sometimes the other one might try and squeeze into the stable with us. If we're having a cup of coffee and it's a dry day, we're sitting out in the yard and the horses are walking around us. So it felt that we're more part of their herd. And rather than again being transactional and something that we're rushing to do and we have this and this and this, it feels more relaxed. And we also then discovered that we were having different relationships with horses, because we might have had some horses that felt more content to be with their own herd rather than be with us. But once we kind of give this idea of freedom to choose and looked at the different spaces that we had, that they actually were kind of gentler around us. So that's an example of a shared journey and how the horses, and then I reflect that freedom to choose as well in the sessions that I deliver. If we look at training is the strong foundations. It allows us to develop an understanding of what equine assisted services are, and it is the starting point. It's not the end. For me, and I can only speak from my experience, there are other training providers out there. For me, Athena, from doing the foundation to doing the level 4 and the level 5, I give myself time at each stage to consolidate what I had learned, to go back and to bring it on my sessions, to bring it on practice. And what I found at every level was at a certain point it became quite formulaic. And I kind of thought, oh, I feel it's starting to get a wee bit stale here. What do I need to do? So then when I went on to the next level of training, it deepened my understanding, because you're having to go and research, you're having to develop case studies, you're having to go and get clients for your case studies. You're getting a deeper understanding of what equine assisted services are. So I'm currently working towards my postgrad certificate, the level 7. And again, it's researching that wee bit more. And with the training comes the supervision, which is fantastic, because they know that when you're delivering sessions, and if you have a issue that arises, they know that you have somewhere straight away that you can go for that bit of support, help and advice. I have to say, and anything that you, because I have it in Pony Club as well, if I have any safeguarding issues, does make a big difference. And then when we look at community, it's what communities we have around us ourselves. So each and every one of us reflects what our community is. For me, it's the horses, of course, and it's also the other animals. What I've found in practice is that sometimes horses are a bit intimidating for people, or some individuals are more interested in the farming side, and it can be through doing and doing the farming that they start to get feel safe and start to trust you. And then you can bring the horses in and then bring in your equine assisted learning there. Can also, like our pygmy goats, a lot smaller than a horse. Now we're in no treats yard to the horses, but the pygmy goats we do give the odd rich tea biscuit. So it can be where you're giving a rich tea biscuit to a pygmy goat who's very gently taking it out of your hand, you know, that kind of way. The other part of my community is the staff. So through my training, my staff have been some of my case studies. So with that, they have got a deeper understanding of what equine assisted services is, what it can do, and for them, it's had a transformational impact as well. And having those staff there for whatever, if it's an individual, if it's a group, or like a family with a lot of trauma, having staff that totally understand what services are going to be there, allowing people to feel safe, creating a safe space, having the consistency to deliver the services has been unbelievable. Training organisation, for me again, it's been Athena. Athena has not only been my training organisation, it's been my community. So when I say it's been my community, it can be the other practitioners. I have a load of other practitioners at the end of the phone that if I had any issues that I could ring. The trainers in between each stage that I finish the level of training, if I've had any issue, and it can be business, it could be insurance wise, or it can be delivery of sessions, I know that I can contact them and that they will advise me. And if they can't advise me, they'll point me in the right direction. So for me, the training organisation has become my community as well. So then again, we go to the practitioners. So practitioners that I have trained with, again, part of my community. It's great when we get to meet up, we get to share ideas. If someday I'm thinking, I'm not too sure about this, I can ring up somebody, have a conversation. And again, it's just knowing that there's somebody on the end of the line, that we're not here alone. For me, again, collaboration has been other professionals. So you heard me mention Julia from One Equine. So One Equine are there too to help and advise and support us. Other professionals can be people that haven't come up through Athena. So I've collaborated along with Claire from Gortley Social Farm. So Claire is an occupational therapist, a lecturer, University of Ulster, could hardly say that's the university I went to. And she also specialises in hippotherapy. So what we have done in our project, sometimes Claire has contacted me because she wants to use my services that are ground based, and we might bring in a bit of the nature based, heritage based, that she would be doing programs as well. And then other things would be where we've done sessions where we've seen that the movement of the horse has been transformational for the group of people or the young person that we've had. So again, it's learning from her, seeing the work that she does, seeing how I can work along with her. has been unbelievable. And then the final thing is that once your training gets to a certain level, being part of a national register. So again, if I'm part of the register and I'm looking for a practitioner that's part of the register, I know that they have compliance sorted. I know that they have the policies and procedures. I know that they have everything up to date. Because I'm sure, like everybody, sometimes it can be very hard to recommend somebody. Because in the past, in my work and different jobs that I have done, I might have recommended somebody for a job. And then when they've been there, it hasn't worked out how it should. So it takes out that kind of uncertainty. And also it gives a wee bit more certainty about maybe that they have the same shared values as you, the same kind of values of welfare for the horses and the delivery of services. So then what my practice looks like today. So somebody can contact me, it can be over the phone or whatever. And what I would do is send them out an expression of interest form. So my expression of interest form is looking to see, is it for an individual or group? If it's a group, what the organisation is, how many people it's for, how many sessions they're looking for. And I always have a desired outcome. Now, when I say desired outcome, this can be very loose because it depends what happens during the sessions, and you have the flexibility to change as you go throughout the sessions because you're focused on the client. All right. But the desired outcome would give me an idea of, because I'm a riding school, a lot of times people are expecting horse riding. Sometimes people don't want horse riding because they're scared of horses. So again, then at least if it's on foot basis, then I can do it on foot. From that information that I have in the expression of interest, to then the first session, which would be an orientation session. So my orientation session, if you look at the wee horse with a wee bit of white in his nose, would be walking about the stable yard. Now, obviously, a safety briefing has been done beforehand. Give the service users an idea of what a stable is like to a horse. Because I deal with a lot of young people, especially, I always use the analogy of the stable is like your bedroom. So if I go into your house and walk straight up to your bedroom, how would you feel? And that's what I want you to think about when you're walking around the stables. Also, with the safety briefing, again, horses are like people. Some don't mind you going up, some do mind you, and we'll go through the signs that the horses can give. But then they're given the freedom to walk around the stables and asked to choose the horse which appeals to them the most. What are they doing in the stable and what do they look like? And then we'll come back and have a discussion. And me and the staff, I'll have a bit of fun trying to guess who the horse is that appeal to them the most. Now, that's about creating a safe space. That's about orientating people into the stables, giving them an idea of the different horses that are there, giving them the freedom to walk about, and then having that conversation with them afterwards. And that really does give me an idea of what way the next session might go. So it might be from there that you get an idea that if it's an individual, that they're quite nervous of the horses. So we might do work at the other end of the gate, at the other end of the arena, as you'll see in the first picture. Or it might be that they've had a look at the horses, but they're starting to ask me questions about farming. So it might be then that we'll walk down the field to feed the sheep. And I have a pet lamb. We call her Philomena. So we can go down and Philomena brings all the other lambs up and we can stand and feed her, and she has lovely kind of soft fleece on her and stuff about interaction, and then we can come back up to the horses. So from that orientation session, you're getting a really good idea of what the next bit of the session is going to be. And again, for some people, it could be being part of the herd, being out in the field, where we see Deborah out in the field with the horses. I don't normally introduce horse riding until session 3 because I think it's important to have the orientation. I think it's important for them to have a bit of regulation and to have a bit of connection with the horse on the ground before then they would sit up on the horse. At the end of each session, we would do a recap. So the recap, you can see here, I have a whiteboard. Anybody that knows me knows that I love a whiteboard. I actually have 2 now in my common room and 1 in my home office. But so for the person, it can be that they can either draw, they can write up what they remember from the session. So for this one here, it was the picture of a horse and how to relax. And then sometimes what I'll use as well as part of finishing the session would be the insight cards that Athena have developed. So that's a wee bit. And then from there, when we do the recap, we can talk about then, give them the freedom to choose what's one thing that you would like to do in your next session. So if they said, I would like to, and it might be work with the horse that's a young horse, and then I'm feeling it's not suitable for what they'd like to do, I'll always bring it back and incorporate that young horse somewhere in there, because it could be at the end of the session that we go and we might brush the young horse. Do you know, that kind of way? So you're given the freedom to choose. And at the start then of every session, we would come into the common room and we reflect in the previous session. And that's a really good way of getting to know where the person's at that day. So what we might have planned to do in the next session the last time, and they're not feeling it when they come back for the second session, that's again where you have a wee bit of flexibility and that you're focusing on the person, not kind of the sessions that you want to deliver.
Yeah. So
then what I've learned along the way. So definitely horses are partners. They're willing partners in this whole process. We have 17 horses here, so we have a good number of horses that we can use for different things. We don't train them to do anything. We sometimes, I have found that maybe for whatever reason, the energy from the person or the energy of the horse just doesn't work on that day. So, and that's okay. And again, I would explain that to the person that it's just not working today. I'm just going to try something different. And I think that that's very good, because again, it's flexibility and it's not perfection that we're looking for. Life isn't perfect. It can be sometimes that the horse just totally won't move for me. Might decide just to scratch its bum in the center of the arena and won't move. And I'm going like, okay, we're just going to change what we're doing. Let's go do something different. We might go out under the field. Or it can be that sometimes the horse is giving me cues that I feel that it might be a bit overwhelmed. And I'll give you an example. It was where I had done an open day. So I had different service providers and to see the services that we offered. So we had one wee horse, and it was a very simple exercise of walking beside the horse in the arena with the lead rope. The third person walking around with this particular wee horse, and it's the horse that's in this picture, Ellie Mae, the whole time, and it was only walking around once or twice around the arena, the horse yawned non-stop. So yawning, it can be a transfer of emotion from the person to the horse, from the horse to the person, or the horse can be feeling overwhelmed. And that was something that she had never done before. So at the end of him finishing walking, I'd said, right, I think it's time we just give this horse a wee bit of a break. And from him giving a bit of a debrief, he had said that he hadn't felt emotion like it in years, and that he felt really like crying. So you could see then that the cues that the wee horse was giving me, and for the emotion that the person was feeling. And on that point, it's knowing then, right, wee horse needs a break, and then we'll have a 5-minute break, and then we brought on another one so that other people could experience the leading as well. Regulation before outcomes. That's in the majority of cases, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So regulation is about people having the chance to breathe, having the chance to be here right now. So it can be about brushing the horse. It can be about going for a mindful walk. It can be about breathing beside the horse. Where I have found where regulation becomes challenging is if people are heavily medicated, because we would have groups out of people that would be on heavy medication. And what I have found there is that the horse is looking to me for reassurance, because the cues that it's getting from the person isn't what it would normally get from a person when a person becomes regulated. And in those situations, what I have done is just been very mindful of my horse's welfare, maybe having shorter leading sessions, maybe brushing horses a wee bit more, maybe brushing more than one horse, going to one horse and then to the next horse, maybe going for a mindful walk if there's mobility issues are okay. And it's just, in those situations too, it's taking the cues from the key workers, because a lot of the organizations that I would work with have good key workers that accompany the people, and they are the key. Way back when, before I had even started training, I would have got the local trust contacting me and they would have one person do 4 key workers. Now, in that instance now, I wouldn't have the staff or the facilities to offer a session to that. If it's 4 key workers to one person, there's a lot of issues there behind it, and it needs a different way of dealing with that. So
Yeah.
me knowing my limitations is
Yeah.
okay. Me knowing the limitations of my horses is okay. So it is by looking at the organisations you're working with, the key workers that are on place, so the support that you're getting from them, because you also need to think about if there's any issues, if there's any like safeguarding issues, which I have had in the past. Again, an example of mine would be somebody coming out and the key worker saying that their parent didn't like vets, and then doing the work, and then it comes back then that it wasn't that their parent didn't like vets, it was something that had been done to the dog that obviously couldn't take it to the vet, but at the same time this dog was the safe anchor for this young person.
Okay.
So it's like they have shared this information with you. We're in a non-judgmental space. I'm delivering the service to a young person. So it's kind of processing the information, being able to then, when the young person leaves, contact the key worker, discuss it with them. They go back to their organisation. And this is where your training organisation or your register comes in and is key. You're able then to ring them and get advice. Now, obviously, what I had done was right, but sometimes when you're in that situation, it can feel really overwhelming, you know?
Yeah.
So it's having those different services there that are able to help and support, because we are dealing with very vulnerable people and the services that we provide. The other thing is people over programs. So again, it could be that we're delivering a certain program, but the sessions that we're having aren't really going that way. And we found that with family sessions that we had done. And basically, at times you were thinking, where are we going with this? What's happening? But then it was always taking it back to the beginning. It was about connection. It was about connection with self, connection with nature, connection with mother, connection with children, connection with siblings. And as long as you kept focusing on that, we didn't get too overwhelmed. Flexibility beats perfection. You have to be anybody that works with horses knows that you have to be flexible, works with animals. You may have a plan A and then it ends up plan B, and then it could be plan C, and then you could be the whole way through the alphabet. And it's the same when you're delivering these sessions. You need to be focused on the person, how that person's feeling that day. What I might have planned to do one week really doesn't work out. Maybe I can do it another week. Maybe it's where they've had a sudden trauma, and it might be that they just need to be out in an open space, standing in the field of sheep, before we go then and stand in the field with horses. Do you know what I mean? So it's just flexibility is key in what we're doing. So the real world impact. So again, for us as practitioners, and this is the hard bit, it can be hard for us to quantify. But we need to quantify it if we want to be able to provide the services to the likes of the health boards, education authority, community organisations. I have found that the different levels of training have helped me to focus on gathering the information, because sometimes you're busy doing, you're focusing on the person or the group that you have there, you're focusing on the horses, and sometimes having that time to reflect or to quantify what you've done can be difficult. So these are just some of the quotes that we've had in different ways. So the first one is a group of children. I would say they're about 5 to 7 years of age, and they're on horseback coming down the lane, and they could see the horizon with the fields, and it looked like the curvature of the earth. And it was just, and this program that we done along with Gortley's social farm just before Christmas, and that was their wow, I can see the whole of the world from here. And you just thought, isn't that amazing? And it was that kind of childlike wonder that give you a wee bit of kind of warps as well. And that the kids were enjoying just being on horseback, relaxing, being out in nature. Next one relates to a young mum. Obviously there was a lot happening in her life, and that she hadn't been as relaxed in years, and it went on then into the evening, which she hadn't been able to do in years either. So that's where it goes past the stable yard. So that's what we're hoping to do, is that we're not looking to fix anybody, but we're hoping to help people along the way, give them things that can help them deregulate outside the sessions, that can give them a bit of peace, that can help them disconnect. The next quote relates to children. I can chill with horses. I like horses because they calm me down. And again, for a lot of children, it can be being in that non-judgmental space, no phones, not switched on, just focusing on the horse. The horse being non-judgmental. The horse being from 200 kg up to 500 kg, and the horse being their willing partner. And then the last quote is, white marks on a horse can sometimes mean trauma from the past. Now, where this came from is, as we walk around the stable yard, people would ask me questions. So I have two horses, one that has a bit of white where their withers are, which could be just a bit of a rub from the saddle. So it's a bit of an impact creating white hair. The other was a rescue pony who has white marks around where a head collar would be, which to me might mean that the pony has had a head collar on for too long or has caused a bit of a impact or a bit of trauma. And this quote came from me asking the young person, what's the one thing that you remember from today? So when you think, oh, that's quite a powerful statement that they have made, but you're giving them the space and the feeling of safety to be able to say that. And yeah, trauma from the past, but there's a healthy pony there in the future. Now, my practice, again, mine is coming from skills based, it's coming from confidence and self-esteem. For this particular person, at the end of her sessions, normally I would say 6 sessions is a good place to be. She had went from somebody that would talk non-stop to actually somebody that was relaxed, that was engaging. And our very last session, we're standing in a stable with a 16 hands horse and the heavens open and the gutterings broke outside the stable. So it was like a cascade of water coming down. And she just laughed with sheer joy and says, wow, that's like a waterfall. And I thought, that's amazing. Because before that, she would have been so hyper aware of her surroundings that she might have been nervous or the horse might have been nervous. So for her just to stand there and relax was unbelievable. So why collaboration works. So from that, you can see that I have collaborated with different groups, different organizations, different key workers, different practitioners. It's about having shared values, collaborating, having your staff there as well. We know what the boundaries are. We know how to create a safe space, referral pathways. So it might be that I have a client that comes to me and what I have is okay for maybe 1 or 2 sessions, but maybe I need to refer on to somewhere else. Also thinking of our own referral pathways. How can people refer into us? Through organizations, through self-referral? Is it funded, non-funded? And then the other thing about collaboration is mutual respect. I have to think that if I want to collaborate with somebody, what can I do for them? What problem can I solve that they have? And vice versa, what can they do for me? It can't be where I want to collaborate with somebody so that I want to gain their insights, so then I want to go off my own. The only way that this service can develop and how we can keep getting better and better and better is by having mutual respect and by having that two-way process. So for me, this is my professional journey. Again, other training providers are out there. So for Athena, I've done, so from 2022, from my foundation, currently doing my level 7 postgrad certificate. The register, listed as a practitioner on the register. So the advantage of the register is that commissioning bodies know that we've had to reach a certain standard. We have policies and procedures in place. We're compliant. We have standards that we have to meet. There'll be continuous professional development there, which will be key to once my studying finishes, because it's great once you're studying, but then once you finish studying, then how do you keep developing yourself? And it's also having that community around you. So having the other practitioners on the register as well, that you'll be able to see at different training events. And the other thing too is for the public then, and this is a key thing, nobody likes complaints. When a complaint comes in, we all take it very personally. I used to be the complaints manager for the health centre as well. So, and I'm for my husband's business as well. I'm the complaints manager. But you do take it very personally. And you can't help, because we don't want to have complaints. But having a body there, having a process in place takes away the personal nature of the complaint. And a lot of times from the complaint, there's something to learn from it. So there's something that we can learn from it and grow. So again, it's having that register there, or when we have that difficulty, if we have a safeguarding issue, or we have, like I had a young person coming out to me. Now, and today's current environment, there's a lot of young people, and I've seen it even coming through the Pony Club, suffering from severe anxiety. A lot more young people not in education or training. So this wee one's not in education or training. The only thing that they're engaging in is the equine assisted services. So for one parent, this is seen like, oh my God, this is amazing. They can get up, they can do it. But then there's a breakdown between the parents, and it happens in front of the child in the yard with me when they're having the conversation. So again, when you're involved in those situations, having that body that you can go to, having somebody that you can actually go to and say, what do I need to do? Should I have done something different? How can I take this forward is really important, because again, we are dealing with vulnerable people.
Yeah.
So for your equine assisted learning journey, my advice would be, you don't have to rush. All right, take your time. Don't feel that you have to do it alone. There is so many different training organizations out there, so many different groups, so many, like again, we have one equine out there too as a learning body. We have all our practitioners, we have all our professionals, and your context matters. So what I mean about your context is, it just so happens that I have 17 horses, sheep, goats, 30 acres around me. You could be a practitioner that has 2 horses and you could do it from a field, and that matters to the services that you're providing. You could be a practitioner that has 50 horses, but again, you're still able to provide the service, and it may be that if you have 2 horses, that you're able to provide the service that you want, but maybe you need to link with somebody else so they could start doing a few sessions with you and then finish doing a few sessions with somebody else. So that's again where collaboration can be really key to developing your own practice. And does anybody have any questions or want to share their own journey?
Pauline, thank you so much for that. That was such a fascinating insight. I kind of heard a thing the other day where everyone was talking about changing for the new year and everything, and so a guy said you won't actually fundamentally change the person that you are, but the things that you do will allow you to remove the barriers to becoming who you actually want to be, in the first instance. And it's really quite fascinating to hear how you have come from such a strong kind of equine background and academic background and everything, and then even your practice, probably if you look at it maybe like 6 years ago compared to where it is now, you've had the confidence and the awareness and the training to change up how you're working, and that idea of using collaboration, I guess, to feed into your own practice, whether it's from your training organization or the people you work with, or even in the little things like turnout and stuff. It's fascinating to hear how you've welcomed that, and it's a really refreshing mindset to come across. It's brilliant. And
it's
I'm not
of like in life, the more that you learn, the more that you know that you don't know.
Totally. Oh, tell me about it. It's scary. I know, but I'm not going to clog the questions here. I'm going to let Aisling. Would you like to run through them there?
Yeah, sure, no problem at all. Has anyone got any questions for Pauline? I'll keep an eye on the chat as well.
Yeah.
Hi, can I ask a question? It's Karen. I'm in Leeds, Yorkshire, England.
Please go ahead there.
After when did you start with your first client? At what stage in the Athena training? I'm about to start the foundation training in February.
Well, the way that it worked for me was that I had been delivering services to individuals and groups just through it was more through horse riding and stuff and being around horses. With Athena then, I had done, I can't remember if it was, because it is kind of quite a blur, if it was after the foundation certificate, because it still would have been coaching young people and having groups coming to the centre. So it really depends, Karen, on where you're at. Like, what's your own situation?
Well, I used to work for the Donkey Sanctuary, so I didn't actually do the qualification. The Donkey Sanctuary do donkey facilitated learning, and donkeys, by the way, are equally as fabulous at doing this as horses are, just quite different. But I did practice with some trained people sort of supervising me. But currently, I've got 2 retired donkeys who I won't be using, but I have a horse that I keep on a track system. And the lady who owns the track system is wanting to go into equine facilitated learning. And obviously, I left the Donkey Sanctuary not having completed the qualification. So it's something that I'm really keen to do. So we're hoping that over a period of time, we'll be able to use our current 11 track horses to deliver equine facilitated learning.
Yeah, so in that situation, it really, like, because as I say, I was already kind of delivering services to organizations and people. So Athena kind of tied in nicely with that. So for yourself, it might be waiting until you do a bit of the training, getting a bit of a bit more understanding behind, having the safety procedures and everything in place, knowing kind of like the business end of it, and then being able to deliver the session. So it really depends on everybody's unique situations.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. My friend Lee, who owns the track system, isn't in a position to start the training yet. So, but it's going to be her business. But I think the way I'll see it, I'll probably be some sort of freelance person that will deliver the training, deliver the actual sessions. But yeah, there's a lot to consider. She has a background in teaching, and she used to work with NEET, so she's got a really good background as well. So
And that's
hopefully
what I
between us, we'll have a successful business in the next couple of years or so.
Absolutely, because it's the collaboration with those people that are around you. So there you've already chatted about your community. So your community is your horses, the person who owns the track system, her teaching background, you being in the donkey sanctuary. So you can already see how your community can develop to deliver the services.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Aisling, has anybody else got any questions for Pauline?
Kate's got one here. So Kate asks, how your business is set up? Is it kind of a limited company or a charity or a social enterprise?
My business currently is a partnership because it's come from a farm. So it's just like your usual farm setup. Now with that, I am delivering services to people that have funding, but you're always in a quandary whether you set up as a community interest company where I can access funding myself, or whether I stay as is. Now, obviously, if I'm starting to go down that route of funding, a lot of your time has to be given to funding applications and everything. So there's less time doing. So there's no easy answer. There really isn't. And I find that that's the difficult bit, is because I could have a contract with an organization and I could be delivering 3 or 4 sets of sessions because it depends what funding's out there. And then there's no funding available. So there's nothing. So no organizations are contacting me. So what I have found, this is me chatting from a business point of view, I have the riding school, I have the equine assisted learning, I have an Airbnb, I have the farm. So I have all these different things that I'm having to diversify to try and keep everything going. So it is something that I'm constantly looking at as my own organizational structure, and to see, do I go down that route of becoming a CIC? And again, it's just organically worked for me because it came from the farm and we diversified on that.
Thank you.
Just on funding, would most of your funded clients that you get, would they be through trusts, or would you have private organizations come to you as well, or is there?
It's normally charities. Some trusts, sometimes the trust expect you to deliver services for free. might contact you and say that they have a client. I had one that they had a client that used to work in the horse industry and would really benefit from walking around the field looking at the horses. And I politely had to say, well, for me to allow your client to walk around the field, I have quite a lot of insurance to pay. I'd have to make sure the staff's on site, and that there is a cost. So trust can be kind of a double-edged thing. We had one person that came through, they were able to access funding through social services and were able to have a block of sessions. Charities, it can be that they have funding set aside for it. So we would have a couple of charities where they feel that the young people have benefited from the services, so they're lobbying their own charitable organisation to have funding set aside. Sometimes what the difficulty can be, and like we're only 5 miles outside Derry, is with the funded packages, is getting people to commit and attend. And I've been speaking to, I have friends that work in different charitable organisations, and they would say that when they don't have funding, and especially young people really want to do things, and when they do have funding, they can't get the young people to attend. And nowadays, I think one of the biggest things that we're competing with is screen time. And that if you have a young person that's at home, a parent might feel safe, might be up in the room on the screen, but they don't have a lot of the time the same desire to be outdoors, and I have even seen that in the riding school, that where I would have less new starts coming on board. I would have quite a few clients that have had horses. Maybe something's happened to the horse, or maybe they've lost confidence. To see, that's my new clients at the minute, but there's very few like young people that really want to be just outdoors. Because when I think back to my time, which is nearly 50 years ago, whether you lived in the town or the country, you were playing outdoors. You were building dens, you were climbing trees, you were whatever. And we've kind of, as a society, lost that. So you can see the impact of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually another question here as well, if you wouldn't mind. Carol asks what a standard charge for a session would be.
It really depends, and everybody has their own different rates. So mine would be, for a 1-to-1 would be £60, and that would be for an hour, but an hour is never an hour. An hour, you need to allow yourself time, and that's the other thing that's key in all this, is self-care. You need to make sure and have self-care, so you need to be able to do something that can help you hold space for people. You need to allow yourself time to set up. You need to allow the person time to arrive, because sometimes it can be a bit dysfunctional, it can be a bit chaotic, and that a session for me is never an hour. It would kind of run on to an hour and a half. And it might be where we're finishing off with a cup of tea and a biscuit, or if it's a young person, a hot chocolate, or if it's a hot day, a juice, just to allow them to have that safe space.
Yeah. And just actually on that, Pauline, obviously you've got such kind of a breadth of knowledge and a wealth of knowledge on the equine and the human side of things. And how do you bring in, I mean, there's only one of you, but how do you bring in and create a workforce and a staff backup within your business that allows you to have that space and have that capability to maybe occasionally get up on the satellite and look down at what you're doing and try and think of new ideas and new things and stuff? How have you managed to do that?
Again, it has just been kind of, looking at what I've had in place. I've never, even as a riding school, I've never really worked with volunteers, because I feel volunteers are a different way of managing volunteers. So I have staff, and with the riding school, it's a bit more than just learning horse riding. It's about having an adult on site so that the child can feel safe. So it's meant that there's me and 2 other women that are the core staff. And then we have young people then that kind of move or go to college or whatever. So it's me and the other 2 ladies that are able to provide that safe environment. And it's through us having experience in delivering sessions to all different groups that have been able to have that workforce. The other thing then would be through the training. So I have co-facilitated sessions with somebody that came up through the level 4 with me. And again, it was looking at both our skill sets. So her skill set, she was an artist. She had done art therapy. So we were able to incorporate art therapy into the sessions. So when you had the group, we were able to break the group down. And she was able to do her bit and I was able to do my bit. But because she had also done the level 4 with me, she was able to do some stuff along with the horses, which was lovely. So I knew that we had shared values and I knew that we got on really well. She had come up beforehand to see the facilities, meet the horses. She had actually done some of her training at my stables as well. So
Yeah,
you were
perfect.
able to get her that she was able to connect with specific horses. So it wasn't something that was new. So that would be the other thing. And then with working along with Claire, Claire's been out a couple of times now. Her daughter goes horse riding out along at the stables. So again, she has an understanding of the horses, the environment, gets on really well with the staff that we have out there. So it kind of leads really well to that collaboration.
Yeah, fantastic. Aisling, do we have any other questions from guys in the ground there?
No hands up.
Brilliant. Well, Pauline, are you happy? Usually after this, we would kind of maybe share the presentation or share we'll share the recording definitely, and then put your contact details on it. You know, if anybody wants to get in contact with you,
Yeah,
happy enough if we do that.
absolutely. Yeah, no,
Fantastic.
absolutely. And as I say,
Brilliant.
if anybody wants to come up and have a look around or wants to find out more information, feel free.
Yeah, no, look, that's been really helpful, really informative. And hope everyone else has taken as much from it as I have. And lovely to hear Julie was up with you way back at the start, but we'll need to get another visit up to see you as well for the rest of the One Equine team too. But look, thank you very much. That was great. Great way to kick off 2026. And thank you all for coming. It's great to see everybody.
And thank you as well. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yep, Happy New Year. All right, thanks guys. Cheers. We'll see you soon. Thank you.